Greetings from Costa Rica. I'm speaking with one of my favorite attorneys in the entire world, Gabriel Chaves. He's going to give us an overview of what it means to be an attorney here in Costa Rica, the process of getting certified, becoming a public notary, keeping accreditation. Thanks very much for joining me to give us some basic information, Gabriel.
Happy to share with you any information, and glad to have you back here in my office.
Yeah, absolutely. We just celebrated a closing. Gabriel is my go-to attorney when I'm able to choose a person to represent buyers because he protects my client's best interests. Give us an overview of the process of becoming an attorney here in Costa Rica, because I know people have their impression from their home country, the US, Canada, etc. What does it look like here?
Well, first, thank you for your nice words, and I'm always glad to help clients because we live in a very small community, and the most important thing that we have is our name. To be honest, in a small community, it's the basics, so we're really always happy to help clients. So going back to your question, it's really important to clarify that in Costa Rica, an attorney, and the attorneys of my age or older, were always, since graduated, we were always became notary publics. Okay, so I graduated from the University of Costa Rica. It's a 5-year term, 5 years of law school and graduation work. And then we have to do community service as well. And we graduated as lawyers, and in the same moment we just did an incorporation to become a notary. So we have a bar of lawyers, and also we have a college of an office of notaries. In my time, when we graduated as lawyers, you became immediately a notary. Right now, the new students will have to graduate from university as lawyers first. Some universities, they can do 3-4 years. The University of Costa Rica is the one that takes the most, 5 years. And then as soon as you get incorporated in the bar of lawyers, you have to do 2 years first in order to go and become a notary. And there's exams, and there's an incorporation exam, and then you have the 2 years to become a notary. So right now, the new lawyers are officially at the beginning not notaries. But at the end of the day, most of the lawyers become notaries. And it's really important because in countries like the US, a notary is a totally different person than a lawyer, and they have two separate jobs. And in here, we basically combine them together. When we're doing a closing, we will do our due diligence as a lawyer, and when we actually come to the closing, we will do the transfer deed as a notary.
Yep.
So that's really important because sometimes people don't understand how it works, but it's a combination of the two things.
Yeah, the actual document that we sign at closing is a transfer deed written consecutively into his notary book, a physical document that they still maintain. Then that consecutive acta de escritura, the escritura de traspaso, which would be a deed, is shipped off to the National Registry as notification that the change in ownership has occurred and to update their files. How do you stay accredited? Is there any sort of yearly or multi-year association that you have to be a member of in order to stay a practicing attorney here?
So going back to the notary and the notary deed book, it's really important that you brought that up because it's an interesting thing. We as notaries, we have this book where we record and transfer cars, motorcycles, properties. We do trademarks, powers of attorney, everything's done on the notary deed book. And it's interesting because, when we do a closing, the notary deeds will go by number. So when I open my notary deed book, the first deed is number 1, and then consecutive deeds. And sometimes, the deed that we're printing will come after a deed that we just signed before of something totally different. And the people who are here go like, why is this other deed in my closing documents?
Yeah.
And we have to explain that as a notaries, we have a 200-page notary deed book that includes not only your closing, but includes a transfer of a scooter or any other thing that is not related. So it's important because that's how it works. We have that notary deed book, and that notary deed book, just for your records, when we finish that notary deed book, we have to send it to the Costa Rica National Archive. And there's deeds of notary deed books from 100 years old that they keep secure. And you can, when somebody doesn't find something, they can go there and they will hand, and it's very secure. It's got a lot of securities because you can actually go and look for something that was signed 50 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever. And then you see the actual handwritten signatures of people 15 years ago. So it's kept there in the National Archive and it's very secure. So going back to your question about the transfer recorded in the National Registry, before, and thanks to technology, before we actually have to print what we call a testimonio, which is a certified copy of the transfer deed, like the closing we just had. We had to print it, ship it from Tamarindo. We had to either fly it by Sansa or by one of their airlines, and then our runner had to go to the National Registry to submit it, pay the transfer taxes, stamps, and everything. It was a little bit of a challenge because it was a lot, especially from Tamarindo. But now, due to digital era, we actually have the ability to, instead of doing a printed testimonial, a certified copy, we actually do a digital copy, and we send it by email to the National Registry, and it gets recorded much faster. Yeah, faster depends on how busy the National Registry is. It can be 5 to 10 days. It's going like that. Sometimes it takes a little bit more. Sometimes if there's a little bit of a confusion or an error, then the registry requests the clarification. We send the clarification also digitally, and then the registry records the transfer that we're doing. So the sellers will no longer appear as the owners, and the buyers will be recorded as the owners in the National Registry.
Yeah,
so
it's surprising how advanced Costa Rica has become in some of these processes. The permitting, for example, is now online for the municipality. And having come up, moved here in a year where there were still so few internet connections, it's a totally different climate.
I remember the days when permitting was going like each one of the institutions, you have to go and do all the permitting process.
Yeah, totally.
Now we have a system where it goes to one digital platform, and it will just be shipped internally, digitally to all of the different institutions.
Yeah. Let's say, hypothetically, a friend has a problem with their attorney. They don't feel they've been treated right, or they feel that something wrong happened in a transaction. What is the recourse for a client in Costa Rica? Not to put you on the hot seat, but let's say what assurances do people have that they could make a complaint about an attorney if there was some wrongdoing? Okay, so there's 2 places where they can go and complain. There's 3 actually, but let's go for the administrative part. We have first, if it's as an attorney, then we have the College of the Bar, the attorney bar, and that's a place where you can file a complaint. If it's as a notary, you have to do it in the notary administrative offices. Because there's 2 different places. Depends on if you're acting as a lawyer, like in a court case, or if you're acting as a notary in doing a transaction in the notary deed book. So there's those 2 places where you actually can go and file a complaint against a notary or against a lawyer. And then we can be disbarred, we can be suspended if we did something against the regulations. And then there's a 3rd case, which will be much more going to court against, but that's going to a different, that's just suing someone.
Which we can get sued as well. But the administrative part will always go attached to a lawsuit in the event. We will be affected if we do something wrong. We can be disbarred, and we cannot keep doing professional-wise. We cannot keep working. So it's really important.
No matter what, the single most important thing in establishing an attorney's reputation is just that. Their reputation in the community, and really their credibility, should be based on their track record. Gabriel has had his office here in Tamarindo now for how many years?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. You will find that in many places in Costa Rica, a single attorney staying in any one place for a very long time isn't that common. And that opens up a little bit of risk because, you can walk around town. For example, I had clients who needed more information about Gabriel's resume. They posted in Facebook, who is this guy? Who are we working with? And they got flooded with people talking about, oh, he's the president of the school board, and he does this, and he helped me with my property. It turned out that they had friends who had previously worked with him anyhow. And so when you get an attorney that's sort of an institution in a place who's been there permanently, yeah, you're an institution, but you get the full context of who they are, and people either do good business or they have to move out of town and find somewhere else to do it. So it's a huge resume for you as you're looking at potential attorneys and public notaries here in Costa Rica to handle your real estate transaction. Take that into account. If you can't find a lot of testimonials about that attorney in this town, there might be something sketchy. You should be able to get a lot of evidence that suggests they're going to do a solid job. Thanks very much for joining me today, Gabriel Chaves. He'll be back to talk about preventing fraud